Hello and welcome to Business Reporter's The Future of the Customer Experience campaign. I'm Alistair Greener. In the past decade, reams of research has been written on how customer experience has toppled price as the number one deal maker or deal breaker for customers. And if all that research wasn't persuasive enough, COVID-19 and its after effects have surely made the world realise the true value of a seamless digital customer experience. And yet, the majority of organisations were unprepared for the shift to digital customer engagement. They were stuck in old workflows that, frankly, just no longer cut it. So how can organisations provide a fantastic digital experience without having to rebuild their systems from scratch? That's what we're going to discuss today with Noel Lavery, UK Sales Director of Infobip. Good morning, Noel.
Good morning.
I'd like to start by asking you, how has COVID-19 affected businesses' approach to the customer experience?
Well, it's affected it massively, hasn't it? I think most B2C enterprises have historically utterly relied on call centres to keep in touch with their customers. And COVID and subsequent lockdown meant that organisations couldn't rely on them anymore because they had to close them. So it had a huge impact on UK business. In fact, businesses around the world.
How would you and your customers rate the digital customer experience provided by the average FTSE 500 company today?
Well, it depends on what businesses you are taking services from. Retail did very well, but then everyone's got to eat. So retail very quickly figured out a way of getting food to their customers and finding different ways of communicating, and they did a pretty good job. Government did a really good job. You know, the actual effect of coronavirus was massive on individuals. I myself got coronavirus just before Christmas, and I thought the communication was very effective. I had phone calls, I had messages, people telling me what I needed to do, what I couldn't do, what next, how long. It was very informative. And of course, the coronavirus app was very useful early on. So government did a good job. Other businesses really didn't, and the customer experience was poor.
Why is that a problem?
Many customers now feel that the customer experience is even more important than price. They're voting with their orders, and if they're not getting a positive customer experience from buying things, typically online, they'll go and buy them from somewhere else. Some surveys are saying up to 70% are just unhappy with the customer experience they're getting from organisations where they are buying products or services from.
What are the main roadblocks towards great digital engagement?
Well, look, the bar has been set very high by some organisations, and some of those challenger organisations and digital native organisations are coming through and providing a really positive customer experience. You know, Uber, an Infobip customer, you know, I live in Zone 2 in London. I know I can press the app, put an address in, and I will have a cab outside my door in 2 minutes. It'll take me to where I want to go to, it'll pay my bill for me, and ask me to do a survey. That's great. Other organisations need to think about how they can achieve that, but the fact is most of those have got lots of legacy systems, applications and culture behind them, which makes it more difficult. You will have the head of IT, whose responsibility is to keep the lights on and make sure things are operating. You'll have the head of customer experience, who would invest heavily in an improved solution so that they can see their customer experience scores go up through the roof. And you've got the head of contact centre, who's forced to try and keep costs down in an environment where costs are spiralling out of control with additional agents to try and help out. So you look at what those requirements are from all of those different people, and you would think there'd be massive conflict. However, a digital solution can satisfy all of those requirements in one go. So it can be an IT augmentation rather than a replacement. It will absolutely improve the customer experience significantly, and the overall implementation will reduce costs.
What would such a solution look like?
This is not overly complicated. This is a situation where As customers, we don't want to be put into a queue into a call center. So how do we stop that? Because putting queues into call centers make higher costs. So we can reduce the costs, but at the same time making people happier. Let's find a way of doing that. And often the best way of doing that is providing information ahead of time before people try and phone in. And AI technology, bot technology, will achieve that. I would imagine that the first phase of any kind of solution like this would probably be some form of automation for those very high volume but low value inquiries where people just want an answer. So let's give them an answer. Let's ask them what their preferred channel is, and let's provide that information on that channel and let them get on with what they want to do. Find a way of communicating that's effective and efficient and suitable for them. And where appropriate, give them human contact, maybe on the same channel. So what you're doing is providing different levels of communication to solve different problems or satisfy different requirements.
Can you give us a case study?
So, one very topical implementation that Infobip managed in the last year was an automation to help provide the UK population with information about coronavirus. We partnered with WhatsApp, and that became the channel of that we thought was the most appropriate. We developed a bot that was easily accessible through WhatsApp. It was menu driven. It was pretty sophisticated because it was providing data. It was updated 3 times a day from Public Health England, who drove the project, gov.uk and the National Health Service. So they were providing a lot of data during the day, every day, which allowed people to access the most up-to-date information about coronavirus. Now what that achieved was 2 things. One, it stopped people phoning up the NHS and the government and public health to find out more because they could do it through their smartphone. So that brought down the potential costs of arming those contact centres with more people to take those calls. Implementation-wise, I think in our industry, bots have got a bit of a bad name for themselves because lots of them that have been deployed before just didn't work and they were considered very expensive to implement. The Infobip bot took about 2 weeks. It was implemented very quickly and ran very effectively. That whole world has changed now.
That's really interesting. Noel Lavery from Infobip, thank you very much.
Thank you.